Good evening, and welcome to the July 8th, 2024 meeting of the Menlo Park Planning Commission. I am Vice Chair Andrew Eric, and I thank you for joining us this evening, either remotely or here in council chambers. Established by state law, our city's Planning Commission is composed of 7 volunteer residents of Menlo Park, appointed to 4-year terms by the City Council. Our Planning Commission is not a policy-setting body, that's the City Council. We are a policy implementing body. We review development proposals for compliance with our city's general plan and zoning ordinances, which can both be found on the city's website. The Commission also reviews city-initiated land use projects, such as general plan updates and zoning ordinance amendments. The Commission reviews development proposals requiring a use permit, architectural control, a variance, minor subdivision, as well as the environmental reviews associated with those projects. When applicable, the Planning Commission reviews below market rate or BMR housing agreements associated with these applications. The Commission is the final decision-making body for these applications unless appealed to the City Council. The Commission also serves as the recommending body to the City Council for major subdivisions, rezoning, conditional development permits, zoning ordinance amendments, general plan amendments, and environmental reviews associated with those projects. If applicable, the Planning Commission reviews and makes recommendations on BMR agreements associated with these projects. We work closely with the staff in our city's planning division, which is responsible for implementation of the general plan, zoning ordinances, and related policies. We encourage your active participation, whether you are an applicant or interested member of the public, and there will be an opportunity to speak publicly for each specific agenda item, as well as for general public comment. With that, I will call the roll. Commissioner Beruzzi.
Here.
Commissioner Farrick.
Here.
Commissioner Silverstein.
Present.
I am Vice Chair Eric, and I am present. So we have 4 commissioners in chambers, which is a quorum. Okay, with that, we will move to the next item on our agenda, which is reports and announcements. Mr. Parada, are there any staff reports or announcements this evening?
Yes, thank you, Vice Chair Eric and members of the Commission. So the only staff update or announcement is one that we've provided previously, but just for the benefit of the Commission and any members of the community that may be in attendance or listening online. Tomorrow evening, the City Council is scheduled to hear the appeal of the Planning Commission's prior decision to approve the use permit and architectural control for the multifamily development project at 1220 Hoover Street. Planning Commission's review also recommended on a major subdivision. So the City Council will review the appeal and the major subdivision tomorrow evening. That concludes my reports and announcements. Happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from commissioners? Okay, thank you, Mr. Parada. Do any commissioners have any reports or announcements? No. Okay. Then let's move to item D, the public comment portion of our agenda. Under public comment, the public, excuse me, the public may address the commission on any subject not listed on the agenda. Each speaker may address the commission once under public comment for a limit of 3 minutes. You are not required to provide your name, district, neighborhood, or city of residence, but it is helpful. The commission cannot act on items not listed on the agenda, and therefore, the Commission cannot respond to non-agenda issues brought up under public comment other than to provide general information. Please know that if you are here tonight to comment on one of our agenda items, you will have a chance to speak when we get to that item in the agenda. So to learn how to participate, I'm going to turn to our clerk this evening, Mr. Hochleitner, to explain how you can participate and then to begin our public comment period. Mr. Hochleitner.
During the public comment period, members of the public will have an opportunity to share their comments or questions remotely by clicking the hand icon on your screen, upon which staff will introduce you and activate your microphone. For those calling into tonight's meeting, please click *9 on your keypad to notify staff that you have a comment. If multiple people are speaking from the same account, please let us know at the beginning of your time, and we will make sure each person gets a chance to speak. For those participating in person, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room and hand it to me.
Thank you. At this time, do we have any requests to speak for public comment?
I don't see any hands raised online, and I don't have any comment cards from the gallery.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to give it a few more seconds just to make sure.
I still see no hands raised online and no comment cards from the gallery.
Okay, I think we're good to go. I will now close the public comment portion of our agenda. The next agenda item is our consent calendar. Tonight, there is one item on the consent calendar, which is the approval of minutes from the June 2024 Planning Commission meeting. Let's, Mr. Hochleitner, if you could please provide instructions to the public regarding public comment and open the public comment period for the consent calendar.
As a reminder, if you would like to participate online, you can raise your hand by clicking the hand icon on your screen, or if you're dialing in on your phone, please click *9 to let us know that you have a comment. At the moment, I don't see any hands raised, but we can give it another minute or two. I still don't see any hands raised online.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's close the public comment for the consent calendar. Back to the commission. Do any of my fellow commissioners wish to pull this item from the consent calendar? Okay,
Through the chair, I wish to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
okay, we have a motion and a second, so we will move to a vote. Commissioner Beruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes?
Commissioner Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also yes. That makes 4 yes and 3 absent, so the consent calendar passes. Okay, we will now move to item F1, the first public hearing item. At this public hearing, the commission may consider and adopt a resolution to approve a use permit and architectural control permit to demolish an existing service station and construct a new service station, including a convenience store and car wash, a use permit for 24-hour operations of the fueling pumps and convenience store, and a use permit for the sale of beer and wine for off-premises consumption, which is a Type 20 alcoholic beverage control license, with concurrent retailing of motor vehicle fuel located in the C2S zoning district. And we may determine that this action is consistent with the certified environmental impact report for the Willow Village master plan. And I believe that we have a brief presentation from staff and the applicant. So Mr. Turner, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Eric and Commissioners. I don't have a presentation tonight, but I do have one update. So staff received one piece of correspondence early this afternoon. It was sent directly to the Planning Commission. But just to summarize, the commenter had some clarifying questions about noticing and then the underground storage tanks and the circumstances around their demolition and removal, and then how that relates to the safety and environmental justice elements, and then also express some concerns about the sale of alcohol at this location. With that, I can answer any initial clarifying questions, or the applicant is here and does have a brief presentation, if not.
I think let's do the applicant presentation first, and then we can take any clarifying questions from commissioners. So if the applicant is on the line, you are welcome to proceed.
Thank you. Good evening, Planning Commission Vice Chair
Andrew, Eric, planning commissioners and city staff. And you can, I'm sorry, if Chris, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. There's just one slide we have here. Yeah, my name is Philip King. I work for Ware Malcolm Architecture, and we've been tasked with designing the project we're about to review. We appreciate the opportunity to have the Planning Commission review our application to reconfigure the existing operations at this Chevron-owned and operated station located at 1399 Willow Road. It's a great opportunity to work in concert with the realignment of Hamilton Avenue as part of the larger Willow Village project. Tonight, I'm joined also by members of the project team, including Nancy Yost, the Senior Development Manager for CBRE Chevron. Our design team and Chevron have worked with the planning staff along with the city engineering staff to develop the project to align with the Willow Road design guidelines. The site boundary has been reduced to accommodate the proposed Hamilton Avenue realignment, critical to the larger Willow Village project. This resulted in the relocation of the convenience store, car wash, and fueling canopy. What makes this project special is that we are looking to do more than just reconfigure the site, but also improve safe access for pedestrians, bicyclists, and to integrate the architectural design and aesthetic from the surrounding neighborhood to create harmonious look and feel for the new Chevron station. The goal of this project is to provide an offering for both residents and visitors to Menlo Park and Willow Village to not only refuel their vehicles, but to refuel themselves with an offering of meals, snacks, beverages, and groceries in our convenience store, and will be open while other businesses may be closed for the day. Our new store, car wash site, and landscaping will be welcoming to vehicles, cyclists, and pedestrians. We've included bicycle racks and EV charging stations to serve customers. The materials included in the design are durable in nature and include smooth plaster finish, cast in place concrete, composite rain screen on the main building and car wash building, and updated Extra Mile and Chevron branding to be in line with their current identity. The rendering provided gives you a complete view of the new site, improvements, landscaping, convenience store, car wash, etc., from the corner of Willow and the new realigned Hamilton Avenue. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. King. At this time, do any commissioners have any clarifying questions? Commissioner Silverstein.
I just wanted to make sure I was clear on the details of the hours of operation. So it's my understanding that the convenience store portion will be open from 10 a.m. or from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then after that time, there would be essentially a window where people could purchase things through that window. The fueling station would be operational 24 hours a day, and then beer and wine would be able to be purchased whenever it's open, and liquor would only be able to be purchased between the hours of 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Am I correct in those details?
So just a quick clarification, there would be no liquor. The Type 20 ABC license is just beer and wine. So no liquor. Through the conditions of approval, generally, yes, the convenience store would be open 24 hours. There would be a window between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Where people could purchase limited items. We've included a condition of a recommended condition of approval that states that alcohol would not be able to be sold through that night drawer window, which the applicant proposed as part of their project description anyway. And then, yes, the pumps would be operational 24 hours.
Thanks.
Are there any other clarifying questions?
We had an email this afternoon from Ms. Pamela Jones asking some questions about the removal or the moval is not a word. The moving of underground tanks and environmental hazard associated with that, and how that connects to the environmental justice element and what precautions are being taken. And I wondered if somebody could talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, I can. Oh. Yeah, this Philip King with Ware Malcolm. I can address most of the comments, and I believe also Christopher Turner can also chime in. I believe one of the questions was in regards to whether or not we were removing the tanks. Yeah, yes, we will be removing the tanks as part of this remodel. And there was some concern about the groundwater level. And so we are addressing we have adjusted the site to be above the base flood elevation that's been designated by, I believe, FEMA. And so the new site will be, above that base flood elevation. And another question was about, the environmental impact of removing these tanks. When Chevron ever removes a tank, they follow all state regulations and remediation required to, ensure that the existing site is clean and groundwater is not affected. I believe another one of the questions was, I'm not really sure about what the environmental justice element is, so maybe I will let Christopher answer to that.
Yeah, happy to offer some clarification. So as far as the removal of the tanks goes, and the environmental impact surrounded by that, the reconstruction of the gas station, demolition and reconstruction of the gas station was all studied in the environmental impact report for the Willow Village project. So that goes into quite a bit of detail on, potential exposure to hazardous materials at the construction stage, where the EIR found there to be less than significant impacts, generally because there was an ESA, an environmental site assessment done on the properties that found really limited trace amounts of contaminants. So any sort of ground disturbing activity was found to be less than significant when it comes to those exposure, which would include removal of the tanks. As Mr. King noted, there are other state requirements around the actual practice of removing the tanks. How that ties back into the environmental justice element. It was a good exercise for me going through the EJ element. It is in a draft form at this point. It hasn't quite been adopted yet. There aren't a lot of policies that talk specifically about soil and ground contamination. There are a lot of policies surrounding air quality and air contamination. So generally the tanks are not quite included in the EJ element. Generally the reconstruction, as Mr. King said, if any sort of remediate or any sort of contamination beyond what was found in the Willow Village EIR is found during construction, there are remediation requirements for that. And then generally as a newer structure, it's would likely be, improving the safety and the quality of the tanks that have been there for, 20, 30 years at this point, bringing those up to code. So there would be some environmental benefits potentially to the project. Hopefully that answers the question a little bit.
Can I ask a couple of follow-up questions on that?
Please.
Yeah, so and sorry if I don't recollect this, it's been a while since we looked at the Willow Village, the whole EIR. Was there any mechanism by which they could have assessed the condition of the existing tanks under there, or is it kind of like we'll find out when we get there? I did a little bit of cursory research, and it does look like this can be a common contamination source for both soil and groundwater, like even really small leaks in fuel tanks. And so all other things being equal, it seems like if the tanks have been there for 20 or 30 years, it's probably good to replace them. But I'm curious if anybody had done that level of analysis of, what's the existing condition? What do we think it is? Is there a chance that in the removal, we find out that one or more of the tanks has some kind of problem that would then immediately need to be mitigated? And I'm hoping that we can reassure the public that if we're doing that, we're taking precautions so that in such an event, we're right there with, something other than paper towels, right? Cool. Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, so the specific detail in the EIR is a little bit hazy, I will admit, but there were studies. There was a study on the tank. I want to say there were 2 studies, I believe, and maybe we have a representative from Signature here who might be able to answer some of these questions. But there were a couple studies on the tanks themselves and whether they are leaking, which they were found not to be. I also did a triple check on the list. There's a list of sites, the department, the Water Quality Board essentially keeps a list of sites where there's known tank leakage. This site was not on that list either. So I think we're pretty confident that there isn't any leakage at this point. But and like you said, replacing the tanks will, have newer non-leaky tanks. But yes, it's been studied. The details are in the EIR, and they're hidden in there, but they're in there. Mhm.
And I can chime in a little bit on that as well. I do know Chevron does regularly check their, existing infrastructure at their stations. And this is a Chevron owned and operated station. So there's a lot more, there's scrutiny across their whole portfolio. So I don't want to say that they spend more attention to one type than another. So I don't want to speak out of turn there. But I know that Chevron regularly checks their systems with, the fuel lines as well as the tanks themselves.
So through Vice Chair Eric, if I may, so excuse me, the certified EIR for the Willow Village project does include a number of mitigation measures as well, and so a lot of these unknowns that would occur or would be identified or determined during construction, there are mitigation measures in place as part of the EIR. A lot of them are best practices, as Mr. King mentioned, in terms of state, federal, local requirements dealing with soil management, potential groundwater contamination, anything that's found and needs to be remediated as part of those construction activities. The EIR does go a step further, though, to memorialize those standards and then project-specific requirements in the hazard section of the EIR. So there are a number of mitigation measures that the project would be held to as part of any actions this evening. The mitigation measure monitoring reporting program from the certified EIR does apply to this site. And so that's part of that consistency analysis that staff identified in the staff report, where we believe this activity and action this evening would be consistent with that EIR. Part of that consistency is the application of the entire slate of mitigation measures as applicable to the project.
Thank you, Mr. Prada and Mr. Turner. Any other clarifying questions from the commission?
Can we get a little more clarity on the bike and pedestrian ingress egress plans for the site? I noticed in the staff report, it said that they feel the current level of parking is sufficient because the expectation is that a number of people in the neighborhood will be either biking or walking to the convenience stores. And I know there is language about ensuring pedestrian access and having a bike rack, but I couldn't find a lot of details around either formal paths safely through a what is even the term? A gas station, thank you, where a lot of cars can be either turning around or not necessarily looking for pedestrians. And I'm wondering if there's anything that's kind of formally in the plan to make sure that everything is protected in that regard. And then also in terms of like bike racks and bike paths through that chaotic gas station process would be, any clarity would be great.
Yeah, this is Philip King with Ware Malcolm. As far as a dedicated striped path from, say, Willow Road and the existing or the proposed bike lane down Willow, there's not necessarily a dedicated, you would say green bike path to get to the bike racks located near the front of the convenience store. As you are entering off of Willow Road, right turn, there is an accessible path from the parking for, say, the vacuum islands for the car wash users, also the EV charging stations. So there is an accessible path along the side of the property that also connects to the front of the building. So conceivably a person could, walk their bike along that path and then, put it on the bike rack and lock it up and go into this convenience store. You're able to visually see your bikes from there. I ride my bike a lot, so it's important to me to be able to see it. So, and then there's also, you can continue on and connect back on to Hamilton and go about your day.
Through the chair, as a really quick follow-up, is the path you're referring to the one that goes around the backside of the car wash and over to Hamilton?
No, I'm talking about, I think it is page A14 of the planning package. And there is a striped path on the south side of the property between the complex, the multi-family residential property, and the Chevron site. I believe it's about page 30 of the report. Of the,
Yeah,
the
I'm looking
packet.
at it right
Yeah.
now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. If there are no other clarifying questions, I think we should move to public comment. So, Mr. Hochleitner, could you please provide instructions regarding public comment and start the comment period?
As a reminder, during the public comment period, members of the public will have an opportunity to share their comments or questions remotely by clicking the hand icon on your screen, upon which staff will introduce you and activate your microphone. For those calling into tonight's meeting, please click *9 on your keypad to notify staff that you have a comment. If multiple people are speaking from the same account, please let us know at the beginning of your time, and we will make sure each person gets a chance to speak. For those participating in person, please fill out a comment card located at the back of the room and hand it to me. So it looks like we have one hand online. It's Pam Jones. Give me just 1 second. Pam, you may speak. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, commissioners and staff, and Mr. King. I'd like to clarify a piece, and then I do have a question. My point of clarification is that the Bellhaven Shopping Center consists of Starbucks, Jack in the Box, 4 restaurants, which have really good food, 2 empty buildings, a neighborhood center, which we have limited access to, and then across from Hamilton Avenue, you have a gas station and a convenience store. So just keep that in mind when we talk about what we're doing for the community when it comes to a shopping center. I think it would also be helpful if we knew how long it was going to take the new trees to be as environmentally efficient as the stand of redwoods are currently. I think it's important to know that or be reminded that the Bellhaven neighborhood has a limited number of trees, less than anywhere else in the city. And so to take 1 tree is really challenging. I know that the trees cannot be stopped from being removed, but I think that piece absolutely has to be remembered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Sorry, Mr. Hochleitner.
I don't see any other hands raised, and I don't have any comment cards from the gallery.
Okay, in that case, let's close public comments and move into commission discussion and ultimately a motion regarding the use permit and architectural control. Would any commissioners like to start off with questions or comments? Commissioner Baruzzi.
Yeah, I guess one thing that I wanted a little more clarification on was this, the alcoholic beverage license. So I appreciate that it's not going to be a place where people can go at midnight or 2 to buy a case of beer, because the neighborhood probably doesn't want that. I am wondering about future plans for Willow Village and how fast those might materialize, and whether we would end up with more of a cluster of licenses in that area than we had maybe intended to have. And it looked, when I looked on the ABC website, as though there was at least one on Willow Road in Bellhaven, maybe near the intersection of Newbridge, near Baca Yard. Is that accurate?
I believe the closest off-sale location is Marvin's Farmers Market, I believe. It's further down Willow.
Quality Market has had one, but maybe they don't, maybe that's old. At 1209 Willow, oh wait, Anyway, anyway, that's a question that I know Willow Village is a long way from becoming realized, but since we did have this one comment from a resident who said that given the lack of fresh food options in the area, that they'd prefer to see some produce. And I want to register that and see if we're going to accidentally oversaturate this area with alcohol licenses in the near future, and if the applicant is flexible about maybe expanding to have more groceries.
Yeah, I mean, I can try to help answer that. I mean, I do know that one of the reasons we're going for about a 4,000 square foot. No, sorry. I guess I should put on my video. Sorry about that. One of the reasons we have expanded the footprint of the convenience store is to increase the offerings at the C-store, or as we call it, convenience store. So I know that there is a goal to try to, you might say, healthy it up as far as your offerings at this market.
Commissioner Farrick.
Thank you. Just to clarify, Mr. King, thank you for that. Does that mean that, are you indicating that Chevron or the owner of this particular location would be conscious that that is a community desire to, stock healthy produce in addition to normal offerings that one would expect in a convenience store?
Well, I can't speak for that. I mean, I don't know if it would be stocking, fresh produce or not. I don't think that's really on their menu, but once again, I can always see what the options are, but I really couldn't answer for Extra Mile or the convenience store operator. Unfortunately, apologies.
Is the convenience store operator known at this time?
It will be Chevron Extra Mile.
Sorry, as a follow-up question, it's my understanding that there's a franchise model. Is that a known entity at this point in time, or is that still to be determined when the new project would actually be executed on?
It's a known entity. It's it's, I believe, on the rendering and probably in the package. Extra Mile is the operator of the convenience store. And that's Chevron's brand of convenience stores.
Commissioner Baruzzi.
So I think the Menlo Park Chevron at 1200 El Camino Real also has an Extra Mile convenience store, and it also has an ABC license. Any comments on? I know there were stings recently with underage permits, and Bevmo lost their license for a while. How's Extra Mile been doing in Menlo Park? Do y'all remember? Sorry, I probably could have Googled this too.
To my knowledge, the Extra Mile on the El Camino Real Chevron was not affected by it, but did not have any violations. We did ask the police department for some of their data on calls, and they didn't mention the 1200 ECR Chevron having an issue with underage sales.
Commissioner Silverstein.
Yeah, I'm happy to opine on this project. Overall, I recognize that there is currently a Chevron in this location. There are also not that many gas stations in the area, and it certainly serves a general community need. I do not share the same broad concerns as Commissioner Baruzzi about issuing too many alcohol licenses. As long as any individual establishment is a good steward, I'm not worried about oversaturation in that regard. I really am concerned about the broader dearth of community amenities, retail, restaurants, cafes, and grocery stores in that neighborhood, but I don't think that it is the responsibility of this existing gas station to necessarily solve. And I, while I would love to see as many healthy options as possible, I don't think that that's something that we can mandate at this point in time for the permit, and I don't think that it is within the scope of this specific permit to adjudicate. So while I recognize there are very valid concerns regarding environmental concerns, and there are broader concerns about the general benefits that a convenience store like this would have on the community, I am supportive of this permit as written.
Commissioner Farrick.
Thanks. My general sentiments are similar. While I certainly want very much for a proper neighborhood grocery store that's community serving to exist here, I don't think it's fair to force it on the Chevron in totality. But I guess I would encourage them strongly to offer some community serving needs that don't exist in that size, that particular neighborhood right now. And just to, I do think there would be a market for better, healthier foods. So generally I'm supportive. The report is extensive. I can see how much work it took to just get to this point. And so it seems like every kind of consideration has been made. It is a convenient location for, commuting traffic across the bay and up and down. So, and it's, an existing use just with an improvement. And selfishly, it'll be nice to have a car wash on this side of town, or on that side where I live, on closer to me than downtown. So that's great.
Thank you. I have a couple of comments and questions. The first is I was interested to note that in the past, the police department had concerns about alcohol license in this area, but reviewed this proposal and did not. I don't have significant concerns about granting a license here, but I would be curious if staff had any additional detail regarding the police department's review and why they felt differently now than perhaps in the past.
Yes, I will try not to put words in our police commander's mouth, but generally my understanding through my discussions with him and through some of the data he's provided, there used to be, significant call volume related to alcohol use in the area, a lot of which seemed to kind of stem from some existing establishments in and around the area that no longer exist. That was in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. Since those establishments don't exist anymore, generally they've had fewer calls, many fewer alcohol-related calls too. So in their mind, at this point in time, adding the off sale of limited amounts of beer and wine was not a concern.
Thank you. That's helpful. With regards to the license, I guess I'm curious about how the license works. If the Chevron or the Extra Mile were not to be a good steward, could the city revoke the license? Or do we have to renew it on a regular basis? How does that work?
There is a process which requires a public hearing, but there is a process to revoke a use permit since it is a conditional use if it becomes an issue in the future. Otherwise, the Planning Commission could place an additional condition on the project for a check-in. That's possible. I know the ABC does their own compliance sort of secret reviews of the licenses, but generally, there are a few paths if it were to become an issue that the use permit could be revoked.
Okay, thank you. And my last comment is I just want to compliment staff, not to suggest that there isn't thought that goes into every single report that comes our way, but I appreciated, given the fact that this will be built in concert with Willow Village, and so some things might not happen right away, how much thought staff put into conditions on the use permit to make sure that that was well thought out as things progressed. So thank you very much for that. I feel like that made our job easier. That concludes my questions and comments for now. So I will ask commissioners if there are additional questions or comments, and of course, if there is a motion.
I guess I'd just like to see if staff have anything else to say about the question that the public commenter had around the scale of the trees and how fast they would be able to start providing shade and do the other things that trees do. Because of, it's a lot of trees, 64 trees or something like that are being removed. It's a lot. And it seems necessary. And I know that sometimes things like coastal redwoods and locations like that are actually, can do more harm than good if the root structures are threatened and they're not irrigated well. So I appreciate the arborist thorough report, but I'd love to, for the public benefit, to hear a little more about how fast those trees can go. Can we have bigger ones? Anything like that.
Yes, so there was a heritage tree removal permit that was approved for this site. Through that process, the city arborist reviews replacements generally. I'm not a tree specialist, but there's a list of what's an acceptable heritage tree. Usually they are species that grow fairly quickly and large to be able to replace that sort of canopy in a reasonable amount of time. It's obviously not going to be immediate, but they are generally quick growing trees. We did place the condition on the project. Actually, step back a second. The site could not accommodate the full value of the replacement trees, so there is a condition to pay an in lieu fee for the rest of the value of the heritage trees that couldn't be replaced on site. We did put in the condition of approval the flexibility that, if in the future the value of the trees increases by the time the project actually moves forward, the applicant would either pay additional fees or plant bigger trees that are more mature when they are planted. So then those would grow more quickly to their full mature height and spread. So that sort of review was put into the project. If that answers your question.
And it sounds like we generally, if I remember correctly from the staff report, what we're approving tonight is a use permit that would be, or am I getting the term right? Use permit? Sorry, new to Planning Commission. But you were asking for more flexibility around how long the permit would be for, right? Because we don't know exactly when this project is going to start. Is that accurate as well?
Generally, yeah. There's usually a 1-year term limit for use permits before applicants would need to apply for an administrative extension for a year. Through the conditions, we built that 1-year extension into the project. So they have initial 2-year term. If the project does not move forward in that 2 years, they would have to come back for a use permit revision to extend the project further.
Okay.
Commissioner Silverstein.
One general comment to staff related to one of the previous questions I asked. While I do not at all want to increase the burden on staff when putting together all of these various projects, I did notice that there are 20 to 25 various maps and diagrams around the proposal with a ton of very interesting and fascinating information, but none of them specifically focused on pedestrian or bike ingress and egress. And I know there is some textual commentary on the fact that there will be a path or a sidewalk on Hamilton and where pedestrians might be able to go on Willow, but both as an informational item for the Planning Commission as well as a broader signal that this is important to various developments that we have in Menlo Park. It would be fantastic if we were able to specifically highlight the expectations of how pedestrians might go in and out of various sites and what the plan is for them, particularly in a parking lot type structure, such as a gas station where we already know there are a lot of cars kind of coming in and out, and there's a car wash drive-through, and it could be a chaotic situation. And it's nice to be able to see exactly what the plan is, and maybe where there's a sidewalk versus a path versus protection versus not would be great. Thank you.
Can I just make a comment before, indulge me?
Please go ahead.
I'm sort of intrigued by how Chevron might be approaching future business risk mitigation. So there's a car wash, there's charging stations, there's a market. And, I think in California, we're expecting to not have as many gas-powered vehicles in the future, but it's interesting to see how they're thinking through this. And I'm curious to see how this might evolve in the future.
Commissioner Silverstein.
I move to approve the permits.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve the use permit and architectural control, first from Commissioner Silverstein and a second from Commissioner Baruzzi. Seems like we're ready to vote. Commissioner Baruzzi,
Yes.
Commissioner Farrick,
Yes.
Commissioner Silverstein.
Yes.
I am also yes, so that is 4 yeses with 3 absent. The motion passes. Thank you very much to Mr. King, and we will move forward. The next item on our agenda is informational items. Mr. Parada, would anyone from staff like to provide an update on informational items and or upcoming Planning Commission meeting agendas?
Yes, thank you. So as the commission is aware, we released the draft environmental impact report for the Parkline Master Plan project a few weeks back. So we're currently in the 45-day review and comment period. And the next Planning Commission meeting is July 22nd. The Planning Commission will hold a draft EIR public hearing. So that's a opportunity for members of the community and the commission to provide verbal comments on the scope analysis content of the draft EIR for staff review and consideration as it drafts the final EIR and a response to comments document. We'll also at that same meeting hold a study session to provide more general feedback to the applicant team and city staff on the overall project. And then just to close that item out, the 45-day comment period ends at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, August 5th. So just another plug for members of the community that might be watching this evening or viewing on our YouTube channel over the next couple of days, that it is August 5th at 5:30 p.m. is the end for comments on the draft EIR. And that concludes my reports and announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Parada. Are there any questions from commissioners? No questions. Do any commissioners wish to bring up any other informational items? None heard. So I think that concludes our agenda. I will adjourn this meeting at 7:57 p.m. Thank you very much.